What's going on, everyone? How's it going? So I wanted to make a quick video for you guys as to why the BMW E90 chassis is the best car ever, in my opinion. So this is going to be strictly on my personal preference and point of view, not necessarily what is on any other reference or what other people say or what you think, really. Not that it does matter, but simply what I think. So let's get started. So I'm going to go over 10 simple points to illustrate why I think this is the case. And we're going to go over with number one, and it's going to be simply luxury / comfort. Now, as for luxury and comfort, we're going to keep this pretty simple. It's a BMW, not it's a 3 Series, not 5.7 or anything crazy like that. So it gives you a good amount of comfort when it comes to adjustability for your seats. You get the warmth, the luxury, it could be styling. But I think the main things are just simply the fact that you have a lot of options. You're not stuck with cloth. You've got navigation that you can get, so all the technology that's involved as well. Pretty big winner. Bear in mind that this car starts in the 30s, so you're not talking about something that's a cookie cutter either. It's definitely not going to be over the head, but definitely has something where you can add on some options if you want more. Moving on to number two, we've got Power Sport. So you're simply not looking at a beast when you're talking about power or a sports car. It's not like a Corvette or anything, but most importantly, it's a hybrid. It's a good combination. It does flow really well. I think it is considered more or less a sports car to some people. And then when you're talking about power, you're not talking about crazy amount like the Dodge Demon or something like that, but it does have a good amount of power. 300 base horsepower for crank is definitely something that you're going to say can accommodate, I should say, to a lot of people. So I think that's a great mixture of the two. And diving in a little bit more deeper into that, sporty look, obviously, when you come into some of the packages, even like the seats, the steering wheel, the feel itself, keeping you, hugged into the seats and things like that. I think that's important. It makes you feel good as well when you're in the car. And of course, going along power, you've got a couple options as far as the engines that were available. You've got the N52, even the N51, the N54, the N55. You can definitely have a lot of torque, so it's a nice combination there as well. And as for number three, I think it could be a pretty touchy topic, and that's price. But a lot has to be said here, just because I think personally that it's a great price for what you're getting. You're starting in the 30s, getting up to 40s, even 50s for sure. But most importantly, I think for the best bang for the buck, I think definitely this is it right here, because you kind of put all the combinations together, and you're definitely getting something that would be an all-in-one package is the way I look at it. So when you talk about luxury, the sport, it's the way it looks and all that kind of stuff, which we'll talk about. So I think for the price, it's very fair. You can see here, kind of getting into this, you can see 2012 335xi for my sticker here. MSRP is 46. You could definitely be looking at a 328 rear-wheel drive. You'd be in the 30s. Space gray metallic, $550, but you can see it kind of goes all the way down. Cold weather package, M Sport package, premium package, all-wheel drive, comfort access. I think those are all important things. Pretty loaded, so coming up to about 57. Now, cost is all relevant, so you have to compare it to something in contrast. So you look at the competitors. It may not be as cheap as some of the competitors, but for what you're getting, I think you can't beat it. Now, when you're looking at the used market, you're finding cars that are sub 20s that are the exact same car, so less than half of what this is. And I think that's a real winner. I mean, if you can find something for $15,000 and get a 2012 335i xDrive, 6-speed manual, etc., etc., I mean, that option is definitely not to pass. Talking about options, number four, so options, features, and packages. So you saw what I had, but I think without looking at the fact that it's fully loaded, I think some of the more important things about it are what you can get in this car that we may take for granted, or what most people don't think about, or what's nice to have. So I think there's a lot of features. So the fact that you have the availability to have, first of all, 4-door, 2 options, the E90, E91, which is the touring or wagon if you call it, and then 2-door, which is the coupe and convertible, which is obviously the E92 and E93. So you have those options right off the bat. And then all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, manual, automatic, nav, no nav, heated seats. You can have moonroof, slick top, all these things that I think is very nice to have. When they ask you or when you look for a car, you can pick and choose. It doesn't have to be something with no moonroof, if you know, or you know, if you want to have manual, you can find a manual. You know, even for power, you can do turbo, no turbo, which is really nice. Speaking of turbo, you can also do N54 and 55 at some point. They offered the 335IS, bringing back the N54. So you had two options there. And then going even deeper than that, you can, like I said, you can get nav, you can get comfort access, you can get even like headlight washers, you can get heated steering wheel, the M Sport package, different wheels, colors, there's a lot of cool colors. If you're looking even to the M cars, which not particularly here, you can get individual colors and things like that, which is really cool. And not to forget it, you know, I wish I did, you can get the coral red interior. You can get gray, blue, or black, or even white on red. And then coming to my favorite part, number 5, the looks and styling. It's such an appealing car. It doesn't look like it's aged a day, even though this is an 8-year-old, almost an 8-year-old car. It's a 7-year-old car. I find it hard to believe that it's, you know, I've had the keys for this thing for 7 years. I mean, it looks great. I wouldn't say obviously like day one, but not only, you know, if you maintain it, it looks good, treats you well, but the styling doesn't get old. Look at some of the other cars in the same years that they've built this. They look like they, you know, they're from the Stone Age. So, you know, interior, pretty simple, styling, modern, but you know, again, I think it's something that's pretty, you know, accommodating to a lot of people. It's not boring, it's not ugly. You know, kind of going back to styling, the size. It's a good size. I mean, look at it. I mean, you could put, I could put 4 people in here if I really wanted to. It doesn't have a 5th passenger seat in the middle and the back, so it only's got 2 in the front, 2 in the rear. And if the factory look isn't good enough for you, you can spice it up. You can make it look really nice. There's a lot of things out there, you know, when it comes to modifications, wheels, bumpers. You can put on, you know, hood, suspension, whatever you want. You know, you can make it look a lot better. I think for what you get from the factory, it can look pretty darn good. You don't have to, you know, think that it's, you know, ugly when you get the car. You know, I think when I first seen it, it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And number 6 is one of my favorites. It's to support the community. I think, you know, having forums, Facebook groups and pages, Instagram, social media in general, like YouTube, there's so many things where people can come together, have local car meets, just share the passion. I think there's a lot of things there. And the reason I brought this up was because E90 Post was actually rated one of the top active forums for the car community at some point. It was number 1, which is pretty astonishing for what it is. So there's a lot of people that have a lot of owners, a lot of enthusiasts is the way I look at it. So I think that was a key point for me, being an enthusiast. And then kind of going back to support, you know, there's a lot of people who work on these cars, you know, whether it be a technician, mechanic, or whatever, dealerships. There's a lot of things, and I think that's really important for a lot of people. You know, especially if you're owning something that's a little bit more on the high, you know, upper scale. If I had like a McLaren, you know, it would be difficult to get it serviced or find someone that would know what they're doing to be able to service it. So I think that's an important thing when you're looking at something like this. And the last part of the support and community, I'll just kind of tie this in, is reliability. I mean, you get a lot of support, you know, when you have like high pressure fuel pump or a water pump that goes out or whatever it is. But the reliability is really important, and I think for this car, it's been extremely reliable. I didn't want to make a separate topic on this because I've personally never had an issue. Again, this is from my opinion and my point of view. I've never had an issue, a big issue. Recalls, everything's taken care of, all that kind of stuff, but I've never had something just go out on me. I've had a battery recall, and obviously I had to get it towed, but that wasn't anything more than, you know, 100 bucks, 150 bucks out of pocket, so I don't think that was too bad. But I know for a lot of people, things like the N54, having that reliability come into play, it's really important, and I understand, but this isn't something that I've had so much issue with, so I want to make that clear for you. For the N54 people, I understand, high pressure fuel pump, water pump for the N52 and everyone, so that's understandable. But I think even for some of those people, it's not everyone. You know, for the people who have the bad experience, you hear about it. For the people who have the good experience, you hear about. You know, not too many people in the middle that you hear about. So I think it's still a great vehicle overall as far as reliability goes. Number 7, modifications. I mean, there's a lot you can do. I don't really have to say much more than that, but has a lot of mods, and I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts of ownership for this car. And you know, I've done everything I could to pretty much just deck this thing out. Bumper, lights, the color, the wheels, the brakes, suspension. You know, at some point the hood I did, the steering wheel, even the interior entirely. It'd be a lot easier literally to explain what I didn't do. So mods, I think if you're into that, it's fun. And it brings out something else in the vehicle. So I think that was, for this car, there were so many different things you could do with the forums and everything being so accessible. It was awesome. So the availability of mods, they were endless. I could have gone further and further, and you know, it wouldn't have been something I wanted to do to go that far, but it was endless. The great thing about cars like this, you know, versus like a Porsche 911 or even like a GTR, the cost of your mods to find things used. You know, I had a conversation the other day with one of my buddies, and he said that he found his carbon fiber diffuser for sale for, it was like $60 or $50 or something like that. When I saw these things going for like $700-800 brand new. So they're becoming more abundant, more cheaper. It's nice. You can find them on Craigslist and eBay. I love it, and I love scavenging for those things. You know, for those people that want to, you can even flip them. You can do a lot of things with those. So they're becoming very common and easier to find. And number 8, overall, looking at the BMW, it's a BMW. I mean, you're not looking at, not to knock on any of their, you know, brands or anything like that, but you're not looking at a typical, you know, maybe a domestic or a cheaper Japanese car where things may rust easily, fall apart. It's a sturdy car. It feels solid when you drive it. You know you're behind a BMW. It drives the way that it's supposed to drive. And then number 9, of course, speaking of the drive itself, it drives amazing. It drives like a BMW, the way that you expect it to. I had a friend, he owns a BMW, and he went into another BMW to upgrade, and first thing that came out of his mouth when I asked him how was it, he said, it drives exactly like how I thought it would drive, like a BMW. It's, you know, and it was in an SAV, so it was even larger, and it still drove the way it was. So I think quality goes a long ways when you're talking about some of these cars and brands and the way that it drives. I think if you're looking for a car, you should find a car that drives well. You don't want a car that just looks good or is fast or something, but you know, you don't want to eat food that doesn't taste good. You want a car, obviously, in the same way, something that drives well. So that's important. And again, that's my opinion. I think, you know, if you want to get a Dodge Demon, and I don't know how they drive, it might be well, but you don't want something that, like a Dodge Demon, just goes fast in a straight line or just smokes. Maybe you do, but I think it's important to find something overall. And last but not least, the overall ownership. I've had this thing for 7 years and counting, over 7 years, I should say, and counting. And my ownership has been wonderful. I love it. I love it. And I think it's a great car. I think it, you know, has everything that you would want. I think it's the perfect car, hence why I made this video. It has everything from looks and the cost of ownership and the power, the mods, the availability, the community. I think it just speaks for itself. And I think overall it's a car that I would, if you know, I don't intend to sell it or get rid of it or anything, in case anyone wants to know. You know, this would be a great car if I were to, you know, have children or something like that, and it's still around and it's just as reliable. I'd say I had good luck with it, and I hope you do too, you know? So if you're looking for one of these cars, I highly recommend it. Don't take my word for it, obviously. Go drive it, see it for yourself. But I think it's a wonderful car. It's built to last, quality German engineering, and most importantly, it puts a smile on your face. So prices are good. I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. I think you guys are going to definitely see that if you drive one, that you'll love it. So if you already have one, great. Subscribe, follow my Instagram, and here is the result for the winner of the raffle. Congrats. I will reach out to you for that, so congratulations. I will have hopefully more in the future. I'll do some of those, plus giveaways and everything, of course. And those are just 10 of the reasons why I think that the BMW 335i, or the BMW in general, is the best car ever. And if you disagree, let me know, but I would love to hear. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.